So what up, though? It's Dwan, Ken, back with a special episode of Speak for Yourself, where we're going to be talking about Ride for Equity 2023.
Ride for Equity 2023.
So, Ken.
Dwan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man.
You fell off your bike?
Doing good. I fell off my bike.
I ain't even laugh. I should have laughed, should I?
Yeah, I'm laughing because your plan for a hostile takeover was foiled yet again.
It was definitely foiled. You are more resilient than I giving you credit for, my brother.
Sometimes I feel like Inspector Gadget and you're what was that? The Claw trying to take me out left and right.
What happened, man? I just remember you was in front of me, or you was in back of me, and all I hear is, "Yo, tire, oh bleep."
I must have taken my focus off for a second. So typically when I'm riding behind somebody, especially you, because I probably rode with you probably much or more than anybody else, I stay really tight to your tire. But I'm supposed to be like here. Mm-hmm. What happened was I think I lost focus and y'all slowed down up ahead. And I ended up like my tire overlapping your tire, which is cool because I was just going to slow down and get back behind you. But you must have started to shift to the right for whatever reason. Maybe it was something in the path. And that's when that was it. I was like, oh, so I want to avoid hitting you and trying to take you out.
You turned the steering wheel like suddenly.
Man. And that bike that I'm on, that Turmac, shout out to KLM, and that specialized Turmac that I'm riding, whatever you tell that thing to do, it's going to do it right away.
Right away.
It went, and next thing I know, I was like, oh, this is bad. I'm in the air. I knew that was, it was no stopping the fall at that point. It was just about how bad was the fall going to be.
Is that your first time falling like that off a bike?
Yeah, that's my first time falling while moving. I mean, of course I fell like everybody else because we click in to our pedals and you stop at a light and you take the wrong foot out and think you're going to lean that way and you just fall slowly and look real stupid and clumsy if there's any cars right there. So I've fallen like that a few times, but never while I was in motion and moving, man.
Yeah, and you hit the ground super hard. Just looking at the video, obviously I didn't see it because I was in front of you, but looking at the video, how hard you hit the ground, how bad that could have turned out. I mean, it was a very, very scary moment, extremely scary moment. For everybody else, for me and you, we both reacted kind of differently. Like, what was your reaction when people came to you? What was the first words out your mouth when all the helpers came up to you to check on you?
I'm going to keep it 100 and say, before I said anything out loud, I said something in my mind, and internally I was like, God, thank you for whoever created helmets. Because I definitely would have hit my head. I did hit my head, but the helmet protected me. But my very first words audibly was, did they capture this with the drone? I was lying there. I could see it. Yeah, I was laying there, and y'all were all around me, and everyone was like, is he okay? You all right? You all right? You all right?
Yeah.
I was like, did they capture this with the drone? That was all I wanted to know.
That's all you want to know.
I did not want to have a wasted fall because those things are hard to come by, and I didn't have any plans on doing it again.
That would have been a wasted fall if it wasn't on video.
I'd have been so
mad. I think it makes people get fired.
I'd have been so mad if they would have captured it.
But it was crazy.
And they were on the job. They were on the job. They got it. A great shot of it.
They got the video. I remember you saying that. Then when I heard you say that, I was like, oh, he good. Then I'm looking at the other team, Martez specifically, like, dog, why you ain't out here with your camera? And he worried about you. Like, man, I'm worried about Dwan.
Yeah.
Forget Dwan. Where your camera at?
That's the blessing and the curse of having people that like love you and are concerned about you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because if there was just a regular camera crew, they'd have been out there with the capture that stuff.
Right.
They were concerned about my health, and they know, some of my serious health concerns. They want to make sure that I was okay. So they missed some of the dialogue that happened.
Yeah, because no one knew why you fell, and it could have been could have been another reason, right? It could have been the heart situation,
right,
to why you fall. So it was extremely, extremely scary at the time. But you walked away with stitches, just stitches. So how many stitches?
I ended up needing 15 stitches. Shout out to Dr. Matt over at Kalkaska ER.
He became a member, didn't he?
He signed up. He's donates to Black News Detroit. So
you in the hospital really still pitching BLD?
I can't take credit for this one. That was chatting. So Chatting was recruiting members in there while him and Martez was in there capturing the footage. Martez almost earled. He was out there like looking at it like he was getting weak. I'm like, I'm the one hurt.
He just watched the whole baby be born. And he's sitting there.
That might be why he stopped recording. Acting like he was concerned about me. He couldn't he like, I don't want to look at it with my real eyes, much less the camera.
I bet you that was it. I promise you that was it. That's why you ain't do it. And so you walk away with just stitches. You got 15 stitches.
Dang,
15
bro.
stitches, bro.
Man.
I mean, shit, I got stitches before.
You ate a couple bugs in going from Flint to Saginaw. You talking about just.
And them bugs, hold on.
Them bugs were terrible. Them bugs were terrible. Oh, my goodness.
Them bugs were terrible. I don't want to fall off my bike and get 15 stitches, though. I'll take the bugs.
Yeah. I'll take the bugs, but I'm like, goodness, man. The bugs, it was rough.
They was awful.
Yeah.
And so then you was down and out. I was blessed because I was a leader of BLD for like 2 hours. My plan worked for about 2 hours. Then we get a phone call. I think Martez called me like, Dwan, I want to come back and finish the route. I'm like, what the hell? There go my 2 hours right there.
I would have stitched myself up, taped that boy up before I let you have it for 3 hours.
I think that's what you need.
Tape that boy up.
I got to get back. Can't do it,
no.
And so you came back a couple hours later,
jumped
back on the bike, and finished the ride, right?
Yeah. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what the black leaders that we are looking to provide funding for do, right? They
Yeah.
fall off, and they don't stay down long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they do what they need to do, they get those wounds together, and they get their butts right back out there, right? Like we know a lot of businesses that the pandemic was like that last straw, right? But we know a lot of businesses that the pandemic could have been the last straw, but they still out there, you know, and that's why we do this. That's who we do this for, or I'll say that's who we do this with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We know that there's a lot of people out there riding with us because they contribute to the cause. But you know, when you think about them, it's easy. You know what I mean? Like you heard me talk about my mom, right? And her. You know, for those of you that haven't heard the story, my mom was 15 when she had me, and my grandmother. I want to be careful the way I tell the story because I don't want to paint my grandmother to be like a terrible person. My grandmother was amazing. She had 8 kids of her own and 100 grandkids, and she took care of all of us at some point or another. You know, everybody like left and came back, from the kids to the grandkids. So my grandmother is an amazing woman, but you know, she was tough, and she bred tough folk, you know. And when it was time for my mother at 15 years old to deliver me, my grandmother drove her to Sinai Grace, it's not far from here, and dropped her off. And was like, go in there and have your baby. And as I was training for the ride, when I found myself like tired, fatigued, and not wanting to train, I would just play that in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, this is my version of, which is a lot easier than going to give birth to an 8-pound child at 15.
With that head too.
This was that.
Especially
and it's always been big. You know what I mean? From birth, I've seen the pictures. You know what I mean? But I would tell myself like, shut up and go in there and have your baby. You know what I mean? So it's when you're talking about the thought of calling it the ride, you know what I mean? So I'd be lying if I didn't say, okay, like, what happens if, because at the moment, I didn't know how bad it was when I was laying there.
Right.
I'm like, but my mind works really fast in those situations. I'm like, okay, does this work? Everybody else finishing the ride and me not finishing it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, possibly, but we'll never know.
Right, we'll never know.
We'll never know because I'm coming back.
Because I'm coming back. I'm jumping on the ride.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's awesome to, like you're saying, to just get that bit of motivation, right? From, like you're saying, your background, and even as you mentioned, just from the black entrepreneurs and shooting through
sure.
The ride this year was just an amazing event to be a part of, right?
Why?
It's always because of every ride we do is because of community, how we come together as community. And in the past, there's been a few of us you know.
Yeah.
And it's just and it's mainly men, so it's the brotherhood, and that how much I need that at times, right? And just how good that feels. And so I was worried this time because, of course, this time we had women join us, right? And it felt like we're changing, which we will change, right, as we evolve. But now that element of the brotherhood would be stripped away. But that didn't happen. It didn't happen at all. Actually, brother was even stronger with the women.
Yeah.
Right? And and I don't know what the gender neutral phrase is for that, so please excuse me, anybody out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what that phrase is that replaces brotherhood, but just the unity that we had as a community together, riding the bikes, pushing through the exhaustion, pushing through the hills, all the hills we had to push through, supporting each other, lifting each other, carrying each other, and then when we finish, breaking bread with each other, and even, you know, in the jokes, right? So it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Nothing was lacking from the years before. If it was just more added to it.
I like that. That's what I was going to, that's what I was going to go with, right? So like, that's the fear, right? When people are challenged to be more diverse.
Yeah. That's it.
We're going to lose something.
That's
you know
it.
I mean? It's going to change. You know what I mean? There's not going to be room for me here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's
the
like
full me. The full me. Room for the full me.
Yeah. It's like, no, the full you isn't even here yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're limited.
Yep.
In who's here. You don't even know what the full you looks like yet.
Yep.
Until you open the door to like becoming more diverse and making it a space for like others to be welcome in. You know, so I like that. Like we didn't lose anything, we gained. It was something added to us. So shout out, you know, to everybody that participated. We had 13 riders this year.
13 riders that go from start to finish. But then every day there was anywhere between 14 and 18 riders because we had different people picking up at different points, right? And so just...
I think we kicked off with 26 riders that wanted to go at least from the Ferndale portion, right?
Yep.
But we had well over 100, I don't know what the final number is, well over 100 people come out for the send-off.
Yep.
Right? Some of them rode, some of them came and cheered, you know. So that was a sight to see.
It was very, again, just extremely encouraging, especially in September of 2021?
2021.
September 2021, the very first bike ride. It was like
2 men in a truck. 2 men in a bike.
Started about 15 people, probably about 15 people, and they just rode about 4 miles, about 4 or 5 miles.
Yep.
Then another 5 went all the way to probably Rochester. And then it was just me, you, and Jeremy that went all the way to Lapeer at that time. We was going to Lapeer, right? And so to where we started, we just met in the front part of Mary Grove, you know, a little bit disorganized, but we put it together.
I don't think so. Especially for year one.
Well, I don't even think we knew their names. We didn't even have names of everybody who signed up.
That's true. That's true.
We ain't had no follow car.
We've come a long way.
Right,
we didn't have a follow. We didn't have a vehicle trailing us.
Yep. So, you know, but just going from that point, right?
Yeah.
And then going at that time, I think it was just you were the only person who rode all the way.
Yeah.
And Carl joins you at sometimes. Doug joins you at sometimes. Steve.
And then you and James kind of filled in the gap.
But it was like you who went all the way. Then next year, it was just you and Doug who went all the way.
Doug went the whole ride.
Right. And then this year, 13 people.
13
right? So when we look at how that's growing out, what we talked about this, what does that look like for the future? Is it 100 people going all the way? Is it 35? Like, what do you think?
I don't know yet, man.
Yeah.
I don't know because like we wrestle with the pros and cons of that. You know what I mean? I'd love to have a few hundred people
going through these cities,
going through each city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well organized in a really, really safe way. Yeah. I'd love to have that. But is that, you know, the thing that makes the most sense for us? You know, I am concerned with safety.
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, that 20 mark that we set for this year was something that we could accommodate.
Yeah.
But I also realized that there were people riding at different paces. So as we broke into 2 groups, so maybe we can accommodate large numbers. But for us, we still going to have to do it in a safe way.
Yeah. More vehicles.
More support vehicles.
Divide the groups up, so we'll work on that. So if there's anybody out there who wants to volunteer, who's good at, has a background in logistically organizing bike rides, hit us up. Because we'll definitely be looking for some assistance in the logistics of all of that next year. Yeah. You know what else I loved about the bike ride was the transition when we're riding through urban communities, right? And how beautiful that is.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
Yeah.
Like we always talk about the beauty of up north.
I know,
right? But the beauty of urban communities, is gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to look at it from a different lens.
Yeah, the cows and the beautiful hills and the landscape don't blow at you and wave at you.
There you go.
And give you a shout out and say what's up.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
Like, it's beautiful, but there's something about the people that see you, recognize you, acknowledge you, and will blow. When you might be getting on folks' nerves on some of them other highways for being there.
Yeah.
But when the people see you coming through, I don't even know if those people really know what we were riding about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They didn't.
But
some of them didn't.
But there's something, some way, somehow, they wanted us to know that they were with us.
Yep.
I appreciate it. It is beautiful.
Yep. Some way, somehow. You got to say that again. Some way, somehow.
They just wanted us to know that they were with us. You know
how encouraging that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you were saying with the motivation, internal motivation you use, riding through those communities, especially when I ride through Saginaw, it's like, this is why I'm where I'm at today, because of this right here, because of this community, which made me strong.
That's it.
Right? It made me the person I am. But also, this is why we're doing what we do.
That and the steroids. Don't forget the steroids. Saginaw made you strong.
It's steroids light. It's steroids light. Not a full dosage, only a half dosage. But also, this is why we ride for that community too, right? When we're riding through, so when we ride through Detroit, through Flint, through Saginaw, and all the urban areas in between, it's amazing when we get in the, like we're saying, the hills and the mountains, or I'm sorry, the hills and the grass and the trees, the beauty of that. But then also, even when we're in the poor parts of those communities, for lack of better words, just seeing, again, that we all are still sometimes more alike than we are different.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there's still some struggles in some other areas that you don't even know until you get to that other area. You're like, oh.
Nope.
Okay. Y'all experiencing some issues too, right?
Yeah. And this is a growth spurt for us, because hearing you say that, I think the way I'm processing it and realizing now is that, like, the Ride for Equity is more than something we're doing with and for the Black entrepreneurs, right? We're riding through those cities, like, we're doing it with and for them as well. And here's what I mean. When you use the term misunderstood, right? Like, I know there's been more than a few people that will ask, hey, like, am I invited? Am I welcome to be a part of the work that you're doing at Black Leads Detroit? Because they may be white or another ethnicity and not necessarily from Detroit. And our response is always, like, if you are someone that believes in fairness and want to contribute toward making fairness happen, and making fairness a reality, right? So I think that there's something that we have that's very meaningful and tangible to offer to some of those other communities that we ride through. It's a way to say, hey, like, we see the way that you welcome and treat us when we rolling through here. We know that there's some alignment on these issues, and we want to extend an invitation for you to join us, right? Ride with us, which some of them did, or, like, ride with us by donating that $1 a week. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And dispelling the myth that we are so divided.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And in some ways, we might not, we may not contribute financial resources, but we have other resources from connections and other things that we have, capital in our organization that we could share with other communities, right? And when you meet and talk to those people in those other communities, the thing is, you don't know until you know, right? And so that's the importance of the addition of Speak for Yourself is putting us in the opportunity to talk to people from other communities. So we're just not driving through, riding through rather, that we're actually having communications and learning about some of the struggles of those communities. Let's talk a little bit about that, about Speak for Yourself, right? Yeah. And how that, how that shaped. What did you think about it this year?
I love conversations. You know what I mean?
You do.
I love talking to people. I love talking to people.
I love to listen to. If you can speak for yourself
for a living,
why you riding your bike? That would be. Matter of fact, I shouldn't have said that because you probably gonna try to do it next year.
How we do that? How we pull that off? You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's. On my life's journey, man, I realized that like you learn so much just from engaging people, being able to have real honest conversation, right? I don't like just conversation, you know what I mean, for the sake of talking, if I'm not really getting to know the real you. Yeah. And there's so many times when we come to a space and we, one of the terms that we used in one of the Speak for Yourself sessions, I think in Petoskey, was safe, like when people feel safe, right? And we don't feel safe, there's a mask that we wear into rooms. And, being able to like take off the mask and really connect with folk. I pride myself on like not wearing a mask, or at least trying to be mindful and not wearing one. But being able to set the tone for people to come, and the excitement that people had that we were coming and looking to hear from them what it meant to be a good neighbor. Yeah. Right. I also heard what was said in some of the spaces, like what is the follow-up going to be? Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was important.
What is the follow-up going to be? So I enjoyed it. I mean, I loved Flint, had some family and friends come out to that. I loved Saginaw. It reminded me so much of Detroit.
Yeah. I think you want to be from Saginaw. I think that's why you give me a hard time about it all the time. Yeah. Because you kind of wish you was from Saginaw a little bit.
I mean, I'm kind of stepping away from all the set tripping, boundaries and whatnot. But, if you're still there, if you haven't evolved as a person to where you're beyond that, then, touche.
But yeah, Saginaw is, and you're right, it is a miniature version of Detroit, right? It's funny. I always felt Saginaw followed Flint. Flint followed Detroit, right? That's how I always felt about it growing up in Saginaw. But as I when I lived in Metro Detroit, and the two differences, and again, as we know, we're all struggling with the same thing.
Same issues.
So
it's a different plot of land.
Struggling with the same issues. And you got passionate people in all those cities, picking it up and fighting the fight. Yes. And fighting the good fight. And we met those people. And that was great for me to see it coming back home, to see people I went to school with, now living their truth and fighting that fight. So that was just a dope experience to see.
Yeah, I wish I could talk to some of them and ask them, what does it feel like to have somebody from Saginaw, like doing the work that you do, having the impact that you have, and then like riding their bike, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because people are still, like, there's still some crazy stuff riding your bike from Detroit to Mackinac. I don't want anybody to get it twisted and make it seem like, it's easy.
Right, riding your bike from one city to the next city. Forget all the way to Mackinac. Just riding your bike from Flint to Saginaw. Yeah. Right? It's still crazy. And I'm excited about, as we continue to grow, how many more people we can add. Yeah. And mainly, and to be honest, I love all our allies. Love it. Love them because they roll with us. I think most of them recognize their position, as you like to say, what they were invited to do. But I am excited also about more black people getting involved with cycling. It's not the care part about it. It's that we don't cycle. Yeah. Not a lot of, we don't ride bikes over those long distances.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, because I've been out here, I know a lot more people that do.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like there are a couple, like 313 Cyclones.
Okay.
Is a black cycling group, Major Taylors.
That's true.
They're a Major Taylors group.
You're right.
Yeah, Black Girls Bike. So there's a lot of people. It's
That's true.
You know, yeah,
we
have to get them out for the ride. We have to get them out for the ride.
Yeah.
Sandra, who was like G'd up from head to toe.
First day?
Yeah, she said she was going to come back for the whole week. You know what I mean?
She killed it.
Yeah.
I mean, she was so fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she had to slow down.
She had to slow down to ride with the rest of us.
Right, to ride with the rest of it. Yeah. And she got to be well our senior. I don't know her age, but definitely well our senior. So.
Yep. No, man. But, like, special shout out to the 13 that made it the whole way. Yeah. Right? So we have Marlon, Matt, Steve, Jared, you, Beth, Richard, David, Doug, Tavo, Keith,
you,
me. Who else? There's one more.
We missing one. Crap. We said Doug.
You said Doug.
You said Doug.
You said Doug. Who we missing?
We got the women. Marla, Beth.
We said you.
You said me.
Carl.
Carl, that's it.
Carl
How you gonna forget
Jackson
your cousin?
III.
How you gonna forget
Carl
your cousin?
Jackson III. We're saving the best for last.
Carl.
Saving the best for last.
We were saving the best for last.
Your cousin forgot your name. Carl dodged me when I fell. He made sure he wasn't going down with me. He was like, juke. I don't know.
Oops, cuz. Right. Around you. But yeah, Carl.
I'm so glad he
3 years.
Dodged me. I didn't want like
Carl
I want Monica,
3 years.
Monica to beat me up and like not let him come back and all that. So I'm so glad.
And we don't got Aflac too. That'd have been a
boy.
That'd have been an issue.
Yeah, Ken cost me some money. To all the listeners, we won't get into that.
$200 boy.
Right.
But yeah, that was but Carl's been riding for strong.
Yes, he came out and did 2 days the first year.
Yep, the first year.
Huge supporter.
About 3 days last year.
Yeah,
3 or 4 days.
Him and Monica like definitely support us in everything that we do. So huge. So shout out to the 13 that came out and did the whole thing, man. That was huge.
R4E13.
Really blessing.
R4E13. That's what we call it. R4E13.
Okay.
The original 13, they did it also. No matter what, them 13
is 13. They solidified in the history of Black Leads Detroit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we rode up. Now, why are we doing this ride again? I know why. But why are we doing this ride? Not just for we know the equity part. What happens? Why are we going to Mackinac? What's in Mackinac?
So the Mackinac Policy Conference, right?
All right.
The Mackinac Policy Conference. It is like an effort for us to raise awareness, create a buzz around the work that we do, because there's going to be discussions, decisions, and moves made up at the Mackinac Policy Conference. And we want to make sure that this is always on the agenda or at the very least the radar, right? It was easy to get this discussed on the tail end of the pandemic because there was so much talk about small business. And, we worked Black and brown small businesses into the conversation because they were disproportionately impacted, even in all the craziness. But that wasn't new. It wasn't new because of the pandemic, you know what I mean? And it's not gone away, you know what I mean? Because we've grown accustomed to living with the pandemic, right? So we want to make sure that this is on the radar, that this is a topic that's going to be discussed. And if we have to ride our bikes, there, every year to make sure that that's happening, we're set up to do that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and when we get in that space, what's dope is again that we're not talking about Black Leaders Detroit, right? We're talking about, as you just mentioned, the struggles that Black entrepreneurs are facing, and putting that in the ear of all those who would listen and maybe some of those who don't want to listen.
That's it.
Right, and putting that in their ear, and you do an amazing job. I mean, when you're there, like, what's your approach? Because you having a bunch of meetings. Like, when you tell me, hey, Ken, I'm meeting with this person, I'm meeting with this person. Yeah. I know who you meet with, but again, I want our viewers to understand the work that you're putting in when you get to that city. Not that they should appreciate it, but just you know, we like to be transparent, so we're not riding there just to take a vacation.
Yeah, no, it's not that. But you know, there's the ride, and that's work, and then it's a different type of work.
Yeah,
right.
After we just did a ride,
we just did a ride, and it's intense. You know
Very
what I mean?
intense.
But you have people there that are decision makers that, you know, run foundations, that are in, you know, the political realm, and we need to get in front of them, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're just crying out to the wind and nobody's hearing it, you know, but if you can do something, and that's what the ride is. That the ride is something provocative, something that people want to hear more about, and that's helpful. It gives you an advantage when it comes to like getting a meeting with some of these people.
Yeah.
Right. But not to mention, we've put, you know, $1.5 million into the hands of Black entrepreneurs in Detroit as well. So, you know, that's nothing to kind of shake a stick at. But I think that because of the work that we've been able to do, people see how serious we are.
Yeah.
People are willing to hear from us.
Yeah.
People are willing to meet with us, you know, and you do an amazing job as well. Like your network, you came to the table at BLD with a big network, and I'm just watching it grow and blow up, like right in front of me, you know, from what it was, you know, and I think that that's a combination of you and who you are, but also, you know, the work that we do and how important and how people like want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. My favorite part about the whole policy conference is the ability to have all the people in the same space, right?
Yes.
And the ability to now have all those people and have one-on-one conversation with those people, whether it's for 10 minutes or whether it's for an hour, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do that, for me is one of the main reasons why I like to go. But then also I do enjoy some of the things we pick up from the policy conference, right? From the different sessions that we may attend, understanding where the state of Michigan is, the state of Detroit is, and picking up some valuable information on that. And now, how does that change, or how does BLD adapt to some of that information, change to some of that information?
Yeah.
So it's a very important conference for us to go to. I do encourage, I mean, the thing is,
Extremely expensive.
there you go. That's the sucky part about the policy conference. It's
expensive.
not very equitable.
No.
For an organization that is about equity, the policy conference isn't very equitable.
Extremely expensive.
And so you have to have the money to get there, the money to stay there once you pay for it.
Yes.
Once you get there. They do have some programs you can join to anyone who's interested. They do have Detroit. What is Detroit Future Leaders?
Young Future Leaders.
Young Future Leaders, right?
Yes, Future Leaders put on by the Chamber.
Okay.
And you can apply if you've never been before.
Yeah.
They have some scholarships for people.
Yeah, and so if you are in that category of a future leader, and I don't think that's an age thing, because I've seen a variety of ages in that, but go to the Chamber's website to check it out. But Mackinac is an experience that I believe everyone should experience if you're trying to grow your nonprofit, if you're trying to grow your business. It's something you can do. So doing the Future Leaders, and if not that, then maybe something we can figure out. But I do think it's an opportunity for people.
Can we talk about the nuance?
What's that?
Of like some of the things that you experience and the fakeness that's up there sometimes, and the realness that like may shock you or surprise you, right?
Yeah.
I end up connecting with connecting with some people that I'm like, oh man, like I ain't know you was down like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you run into the stuff that you be like, oh, this that BS.
So people you thought it was down and they ain't down. What do you mean?
That, or like, because I mean, people put on a persona as if they like, down for causes and all that kind of stuff, and then when it's time to show up, like,
depending on who in the room,
depending on what's being said, depending on what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like those things are still kind of like, off-putting and troubling to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that it happens across the board, especially like with people in high-ranking positions, so to speak.
Right.
But But yeah,
So when that happens, does that change your perception?
That part never gets.
Did that change your perception of people when that happened, or what do you do?
I mean, I always make mental notes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I always make mental notes because I'm like overly optimistic when it comes to giving like myself a chance and other people a chance.
Yeah.
And you know my motto is like, I'll work with whoever got their sleeves rolled up. I don't care what your like race, sex, gender, pronoun, like where you come from on the beliefs scale, you know what I mean? As somebody that identifies as a follower of Jesus, you know what I mean? Like I don't, like wherever you coming from, like if you got your sleeves rolled up and willing to put in work, I'll work with you, you know what I mean? And care for you while we're working, you know? But like that stuff is still like unsettling, man, when you're in spaces and people, like if your agenda is just about you, and you're honest with that and you're real about that, then so be it. That's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if your agenda, like in the way that you set yourself out, is about like a people or a cause, and then when your actions don't reflect that, you know, that's that stuff to be like really troubling to me. The other thing that troubles me, and I think we're getting better because of things like the party that we put on with MDBBA and the NAACP.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that I'm seeing is a little bit more swag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
up definitely
more swag.
Conference,
Black
a little bit more flavor.
To be black.
Yes. Oh, that's so refreshing
like, just
to
keep
me.
That real. That's
so refreshing to me.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like black folk being, now you always have some of us that just are going to be us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But we stand out a little bit less when there's more of us willing to be themselves.
Yeah.
And we don't all look alike. We don't all talk alike. You know what I mean? We don't all dress alike or any of that.
There's all different variations of black. It doesn't come in one shade.
But when you see folk comfortable with being themselves,
yeah,
that is refreshing. And I want to see more and more of that up there in other places.
Yeah, it's interesting that, you know, because of the party, like the new term for that day was black and all.
Black and all.
For that evening, right?
Went from Mackinac to black and all.
And so the fact that we had some part in that.
Okay.
I mean, when you think about that, right? Right? That we had some part in that, right? Like I love that. I was watching something about Martha's Vineyard, and it was this about Henry Gates. And anyways, this part of it where everybody was swimming at, they called it like the ink spill or something. Inkwell, thank you. It's because that's where all the black people was at. And from a helicopter, you know, that's what it looked like. And I just thought that was interesting, but also because, like, after time, so many black people that came that they took over this part of the beach, right? And at some point, that's what Mackinac is going to be at some point. And it's going to be Blackinac at some point.
Ooh-wee. Shout out to Kingston Kitchen.
Yes.
Shout out to our partners and everybody that showed up to the Blackinac party. It was off the chain. You shook more than a tail feather, and it was lit.
And you only spoke for 2 minutes.
It was lit. I only spoke for 2 minutes. I only spoke for 2 minutes. I kept it brief.
You kept
it brief, but I kept it real.
But you kept it real. And the awesome part about that whole, we call it a party, but it's really an opportunity, again, for us to come together because you're so spread out during the week. So this is the one time you're all in one space. And you're like, I see you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yep. Just, you know how we do that as our culture?
Yeah.
I see.
Yep. That's it.
It's a whole different feeling of respect for them and respect for us as an individual, at least for me. Yeah. When I see a brother, I'm like, I see you.
That's what's up. That's
good. Right?
Good.
So I love the fact that we're creating those spaces.
Yeah.
I'm working with partners to create those spaces.
I want a special shout out Angelique Powers and Kyla Walker Miller.
Okay.
You know, just for, you know, acknowledging me in a space that was kind of like, you know, lonely for a moment.
Did I see you?
Yeah, it was an I see you and I hear you and I'm with you. You know what I mean?
Love
so I want to shout them out. But
I love, wait, let's coming to an end. How important is that though?
Oh, it is.
I see
extremely
you,
important.
I hear you, and I'm what?
I'm with you.
Boom.
Yep.
Right.
I see you.
Not just I see you, not just I hear you, but I'm with you. I love that. Just how important that is. So We need to do more of that.
Yeah.
In public spaces.
Yep.
Where it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To say I'm with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. I think that's what you were speaking to earlier with the nuances of the island and how that happens at times. You might get I see you. You might get I hear you. But in some spaces, it might be a little bit difficult to get a I'm with you.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So, all right, man, we got to wrap up. Anything else you want to share about the ride, the policy conference or whatever? I mean, I think it's important to say that we did surpass our fundraising goal. I think
we
did
a
combination of like all the people that donated. Thank you. You still have time to actually. You can always donate to Black Leaders Detroit.
LD43 beat LD41 if I'm correct.
No, LD43.
Yes.
So LD41
yes, sir.
Raised more money than LD43.
I don't believe that's true.
LD43 did have more people show up for the kickoff.
Yeah.
LD41.
Yes, that is true. That is true. But it was my last words is just it's always I love this journey with you. The ride with you from just riding from Detroit to Mackinac, just our ride. Like what I love about you and I is we can ride without talking and be talking.
Yeah.
I don't even
That's
think,
chemistry.
You know what I mean? Just like boom.
Yeah.
We together, I got you. You know what I mean? And then when we get to Mackinac, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So,
no doubt. We don't have to be together the whole time.
Right.
Like we connect in passing, talk about what's going on, what's coming up.
Yeah.
And I know you somewhere like making things happen that need to happen and vice versa.
Yeah. So I love it. It's a dope time. So looking forward to next year and getting more riders out there next year.
Yeah.
What's our goal next year? Like 40 going all the way?
I like that. You said it here. I like it. I like it. Now, I guess you can close us out, man, and look the people in the eye and tell them what they need to do if they want to get there.
If they want to get there, keep going.